The Ryan Ries Show from Southern California. This is The Ryan Ries Show. Post your questions using @Ryan Ries on his Instagram or Facebook. Are you ready?
All right. It is going down. I have a special show for all you guys that are listening. I have Hagen Miller back in studio. Last time you were here, we did a couple shows, and we were talking about you exiting the Latter-day Saints, being a Mormon. Mm-hmm. And I got a lot, I don't even know if I told you this, but I got a lot of feedback, and it was really bad. You really stunk on the show, okay? No, it was really good.
I got a lot, too.
Did
I had
you?
a guy write me this was a negative one, but a guy write me literally like a 6-page letter from Texas who found our church address and sent it to me, telling me how I was wrong about Joseph Smith.
Whoa.
A lady reached out to me from the middle of the country, called our church phone, has a coworker who she works remotely with, who's a Mormon, and just wanted to talk to me and have me pray with her. So it was cool. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's hardcore. The full-on letter.
Yeah.
6-page and mailed it.
Yeah, it was wild.
Whoa.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, he hasn't done his research yet.
That's right.
So he needs to dig in.
Yeah.
But yes, I got nothing but just amazing positive feedback from some guys listening in Hawaii, some guys, in Orange County, and then even in Idaho. But then just the feedback on YouTube, and it was powerful. So look up Hagen Miller on the Ryan Ries Show on YouTube. You can find it if you want to see his beautiful face. He's single and ready to mingle. So, that's also an opportunity. No.
Yes.
No, amazing stuff. And then on our podcast, we got Spotify, we got Apple, and all the other platforms that's available. But really amazing. But today we're bringing you in because you got your friend,
that's right,
your co-pastor. I don't know exactly the title. We're gonna get
your
into
employee,
it. New employee, all kinds of stuff going on. But we got Jordan Shafer in studio as well, and you're 21.
Yes, sir.
You're just a young buck.
Sheesh.
Yep.
All right, and you're in ministry, and tonight, I would say today's show, we're going to talk about being called, young, not knowing where you're going to be called to, because you're actually from Philadelphia, right?
Yep.
And now we're actually currently, right now, on this particular night or day, we are in Salmon, Idaho, because tonight we're going to be doing a revival night here, and then yesterday we were actually in the public school preaching. So a lot of cool things happen, but this is a very small country town. We were looking up the population last night.
Yeah.
And am I wrong? Was it 3,500 or?
That's correct. Yep.
3,500 people.
Yep.
In the city.
That's why, because we were like, how many people are in the school? And you said 250.
Yeah, right around there probably.
So this is a small country town in the mountains. It's beautiful, a lot of mountains.
The elevation's a little high, and some people don't do well with that.
Yeah. I've been feeling like I've been talking in circles since I've been here. The elevation has jacked me up. But anyway, yeah. So just a little background of kind of like where we're at, and bringing you from Philadelphia to here. That's another pretty
a little far away. Yeah,
a little far away to a little small town. So from a big city. That's right. Let's get after it. How did you guys even get connected? So you grew up in Philly?
Yeah, so I grew up in Philly in a little suburb outside of Philly called Feasterville. Went to Calvary Chapel of Philadelphia with Joe Foch as the pastor there. And I went to that Christian private school, which I really enjoyed. And then, like most high school kids, I graduated and I had no idea what I wanted to do with my entire life. I was like, I don't know what I want to do. Should I go to college? Should I not go to college? Should I become a plumber or something?
You would have been a great plumber.
Would I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Thanks for saying that. But yeah, I was like, what should I do? And I had my youth pastor, Mike Foch, Joe's son, and he was my youth pastor. And he was like, hey, Jordan, there's this cool Bible college in Yucca Valley, California, and it's a 1-year program, and you can just go out there. And yeah, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So it's like, hey, I'll try this out. And I literally told all my friends, hey guys, don't worry. I'm going to come back. I'm not going to move away, and I'm not going to get married. That's what I told literally everyone before I left.
Because people, I guess, that's kind of a theme. You go to a Bible college and you get married.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh, you're just going to move away and get married. And I was like, exactly what I did. But yeah, so they were right. They were right.
How old were you when this conversation happened?
17 when I graduated.
So you were 17,
Yeah.
So then did you move out there immediately?
Yeah, so I graduated and then just the summer I was at home.
So you're out there 1 year. Now when you were there, what are you praying for? Like what are you talking to God about? Because you're there, you're getting discipled in a Bible college. So it doesn't even matter like what Bible college people go to. You're there, you're praying. You're there because you want to know what God wants to do with your life. So what were some of the kind of prayers that you were saying, or were you just kind of like chilling, like, I'm just going to get discipled, and then whatever, if God just opens the door?
Yeah, I mean, so there's definitely a culture there of CBI of like, hey, you're not just here for a random purpose. Like, God wants to use you. Yeah. And I never really thought about it like that before. It's like, I've never really thought of myself as like a pastor or whatever or anything like that. But I was just like, I guess I could go do this thing. And so that was kind of cool. It was just kind of crazy being there. And you never realize how cool the Bible is until you spend a whole year studying it. Yeah. And like just having that whole year of CBI is just like, and it's intense. Like, it's intense. Like, you wake up, you listen to Chuck Smith teach for an hour, you fall asleep during that, but then you go to your next class and you just learn like all these, like all day you're just serving and learning. And it was just like, whoa, the Bible's so cool. The Bible's awesome. And I just kind of fell in love with that. And then, I was just like, oh yeah, this is super cool. And I love this. And I could study this for the rest of my life.
Do you guys go through the whole Bible with Chuck while you're there?
Not with Chuck. So there's like your main classes that are like Genesis or like Romans. They kind of cover like the big books. And then the other smaller books or like Exodus, Leviticus, Chuck Smith goes through those with you. Right. So you get the whole Bible.
So you're there and you're going, okay, God could use me. So are you starting to pray going, okay, God, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Because I just want to know, like, there's some people that are like, hey, whatever, God, you want to do, just open the door. And then there's other guys that pray specifically. And I've learned to do, operate in both.
Yeah. I'm definitely a very go with the fly kind of person. Yeah. Like, I wasn't worried about the future. Yeah. I was open for whatever. I was definitely just praying like, hey, God, whatever you want me to do. I knew I was kind of being pulled in this direction, but I'm definitely not the kind of person to like stress out about like, oh no, what am I going to do in 5 years? Yeah. I'm just kind of like,
well, did you pray for God to show you, like, show me?
Yeah.
So then tell me about that prayer, and then where did that end up leading?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I was just like, God, wherever you want me. And we would always have like these guest teachers come and share at CBI, and bless their hearts, they were all really good. But some of them were definitely better than others, you know, and what was cool is you could kind of realize, oh, there's different ways of teaching the Bible. And there's some ways of teaching the Bible that I like way better, that I kind of jive with way better, that I want to be able to copy and be like that. And so it's kind of being able to do that.
Different styles,
exactly. Yeah. And so then around the second semester,
I want to have this conversation with you off the air.
Okay.
About that later. No, because I want to hear more.
Yeah. But then it's like, and then every time a pastor comes, they're like, hey, come and visit our church. Come be an intern. Come check it out. And usually I'd be like, I don't want to have to listen to you teach again. So it's just like, I'm okay, you know. But then, second semester rolls around. And I'm still just praying, like, God, wherever you want me to do. I mean, I'll go back to Philadelphia. I can go help. There was another church plant in New York that I was really praying about going, and just kind of going back home and just kind of commuting to New York and helping out with that. So I was just open. And then, man, Hagen Miller walks through those doors, and he's just this young, on fire guy, and he teaches the Book of Ruth. And no. You taught the Book of Ruth later. You taught Matthew 16.
Okay.
Matthew 16. And it was just the verse by verse method that you would think would be super common because it's like a Calvary Chapel Bible College, and in many ways it is super common. Yeah. But he just stuck with it and just taught the Bible verse by verse in such a way that was just like, oh yeah, this is it. This is what I want.
This is it.
Yeah. This is what I like. This is what I want to be able to do. This is what I want to listen to for the rest of my life. Just a very faithful verse by verse. No funny stories about his grandma's cat who just died or something. Just kind of like, I mean, you were funny too, but just kind of like very loyal to like the verse by verse method. Yeah. So it's like, oh, I want that. So yeah, connected with him.
So did he say, we're taking people in Idaho?
Kind of. How did you word it? You say like, hey, we want interns, or?
Yeah, I was definitely looking for about 3 years. I'd been going out to CBI trying to find someone to come up here and help me. And just never found the right fit. So I was just going down there praying. I was kind of expecting a lady that would marry me.
He was looking for,
but instead
he
I
was
got
looking
Jordan,
for a wife
so
and instead he got
So
me.
that's
yeah.
okay.
Let me do a little flashback to the previous show. So Hagen started a church, took over a church here.
Yeah.
And it's a you have a couple services, two services. It's a happening church for the area. It'd be a big church for the area. You took over at 21 years old, and
Yeah.
I quote you from the last show. You felt like you were drowning for the first like 6 or 7 years.
Sure.
And you just feel like you're just coming out of it now. And you're what
29 now.
You're 29 now.
Yeah.
So you were a very young pastor to take on such a big project. So just a little background.
Yeah.
So you were there thinking you were gonna find a wife, but you found this guy.
This guy
I'm sorry.
said, this is what Jesus said. This is who I have for
And
you.
I'm just as good as a wife, right?
Almost.
Almost.
Yeah. And when he ended up coming here, he lived with me
Yeah.
as a roommate until he ended up getting married, finding his own wife. Yeah, so that was good.
Yeah, you found your wife at Bible school?
At Bible college, yeah. So we were dating when I came up here. She also came the second semester. So the first semester, great, all that. But then second semester, I say the two most important people, I met them, Hagen and
First
Avery.
semester's 1 year, and then second, how does it work?
Half a year. So it's a 1 year program.
Got it.
Yeah.
First and second, yeah.
And they kind of do that on purpose. People are like, oh, 1 year's kind of too short. But they kind of do that because they know that by the end of a year of Bible college, your head kind of expands a little bit. And you think you know everything. And so they kind of do 1 year and then they ship you off somewhere so you don't know what you're doing and you get humbled again.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the idea. And it works. I think it's good.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So then your guys are talking, and then the conversation. So this flip over to you for a minute. How'd you know? Because you're bringing a guy from a different state,
Sure.
to come in. It's as an intern, it's still like a commitment, right? Because you're bringing this guy out of from one place to the other. How did you know? Did God speak to you, or did you feel peace? How'd you know, or was it just like, by faith, I'm going to step out and just see kind of where things land? Because sometimes
Sure.
God speaks directly, and you're like, this is the guy.
Yeah.
Or sometimes God's like, he's just like, hey, dude, like, walk by faith.
Yeah. So over his spring break, I decided to fly him up here so that he could see Salmon, because he had communicated at that stage of the game that he was interested in coming. But it wasn't just him. Another kid was interested as well. So they both come out over spring break, which is Easter time, to look at things. And if you would have asked me then, the other kid would have seemed like a better fit.
Better on paper.
Yeah, he would have fit out culturally better, wore cowboy boots, tall,
Kind of
dark,
a cowboy,
handsome.
yeah.
Just like he seemed like he just fit in good around here.
Yeah.
And then they both go back, and the one goes, yeah, I don't think I want to go to Salmon. And then the other one, the goofy one's like, yeah, I think God wants me in Salmon. I'm just like, okay, yeah, come on up this summer, and like you can be an intern, and like I can't promise you anything, but we'll just see what happens. And he's never left.
Yeah. This is the longest
been 2
internship
years.
How
ever.
long's it been?
2 years,
2
right?
years at this point, yeah.
2.5 years.
Perfect. That's good. I think about that story like David. They were looking for, they were looking for all the brothers of David, and they're like, yeah, this guy, and then they're like, who, that guy?
Yeah.
David.
Yeah.
So it's like you could look at people from the outside of this guy, or just on paper. You look at the resume.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, this makes sense. I've seen a lot of amazing resumes, and they haven't worked out.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's not what's on paper. It's like God. It's just God calls the guy, and he could not be. There's like a saying, like a Christian saying, where it's like he equips the people that are unequipped, or if you're unequipped, he'll equip you. I forget how it's said, but it's the call that God does in someone's life.
Yep.
So, all right. So you brought him here, and what's going back to you? What's been your experience? Like, let's go back off of what you just said. You leave. You got a big head, and then reality hits. Tell me about.
Do you see? Literally, his head's big.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's
It is
crazy.
a very large.
yeah.
I do have a
Yeah.
very large head. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. But I could see you actually were wearing it a lot bigger, and you had to come back down to planet Earth. And,
Yes. Yeah, it definitely was. It was crazy, and it still is crazy. I'm still figuring it out.
Tell me, like, you leaving with like a big. You've learned a lot. Because I listen to Chuck. I listen to Chuck every morning too, but I don't fall asleep. So
Do you listen to my times 2 speed?
no,
Oh, okay.
no, I like it slow.
Okay.
So basically, when you left, you had all this knowledge. And I remember when Chuck talks about when he graduated from seminary or he did his thing, he was just like, I'm ready. Every church needs me. I'm ready. And then the hard lessons of like, he couldn't get a job. So what was your experience coming out of Bible college? You know, you learned a lot. You're like, I'm ready for ministry. I know I'm ready to do it. And then what were like some of the realities of ministry?
Yeah, that's just kind of hard, and that you're just kind of like this new guy, especially in salmon. You're just kind of like this new guy in salmon, and nobody knows you.
Yeah.
Nobody really likes you either. Yeah. And it's just kind of like you just kind of have to.
Why don't people like you?
I can come off maybe a little strong, maybe just with
because it's a different culture here. Because East Coast, we don't.
That's true. We do talk loud and a lot.
Yeah,
and people are very reserved here.
Yes.
Yep. And the people here at the church were super welcoming, super nice, super awesome.
But it's different. It's a different vibe. Like we were in the restaurant the other day, and we're like, all of us are like laughing, and I'm loud too. Yeah, and we're all talking loud, and then the other people are looking over at us, and they're like, because the culture is just more, country, more mellow. So yeah, totally. So that's interesting for people to know. When you go into a different culture,
Yeah,
it's.
But yeah, I just felt really reality kind of hit really quickly with the idea of it's just like, oh man, what am I doing? I can't do this. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not able to do any of these things. Yeah. And it's just like, it still is sometimes really defeating. It's just like, this is not what I want it to be. This is not what I imagined coming out of CBI. So I'll just go be the youth pastor. This is not what I imagined. And it's just like a kind of a daily kind of thing. And I like to think of the story of Moses when like God called him and like Moses was like, hey God, I can't talk too good. Like I'm not eloquent of speech or whatever. And then God said, you go. Like God said, who made man's mouth? I made man's mouth. And he says, you go and I will teach you the words that you should say. And I really like that. So if I just like am faithful to this, like, God, you called me to this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to say yes. And as I do it, you're going to equip me. You're going to give me the words to say. And so I really like that. That's what I kind of go back to.
And I'm sure Hagen could speak into this too, but like, obviously, there's so many lessons right now because you're so young that he's just teaching you the school of hard knocks, just going through and learning and character. I mean, ministry is just when you're young and even always, but it's character. He's developing your character and so many lessons that you'll look back at now and be like, that's what those years were to develop you into. He's already using you. He uses anyone. He could use anyone, but it's all character development to get you to that next chapter of where he wants you. And then once you get there, then he'll develop you again. And it's just it's the vessel. It's like the Jeremiah vessel. The breaking down, molding and lifting up. And then I always talk about how like God creates you into a vessel for like a chapter in your life. And then he's like, okay. Now, that vessel, you're going to be doing something different. Whatever that is in ministry, he's either, I'm going to break you down again, remold you, and turn you into a different style of vessel for that next chapter. And it's like the continual breaking for these into these different operations of this vessel of how you're going to be used, from like a youth pastor to maybe a lead pastor one day to whatever you're going to do. But it's a continual breaking. It never ends. It stinks.
Yeah.
The breaking's not stinks. Yeah. But when the vessel comes out and is being used for that season, it's fantastic.
For sure.
Yeah, right on. I think it was cool that when I got here, though, Hagen was very good at just letting me or giving me opportunities and kind of letting me kind of figure it out and kind of fall and fumble, but like giving me those opportunities to do that. Yeah. Like literally I got here and then just that first week, like I got here on a Thursday and we do youth group on Thursdays. So I sat in that Thursday and then he was like, okay, here's Jordan. He's going to be the youth pastor next week. And just from that next Thursday, I was just kind of the guy. Yeah. And he just kind of let me do whatever I want.
Threw you into the fire.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Perfect.
And then he's pretty good with giving me opportunities to share and teach on Sundays as well. Awesome. And that's really a stretching thing. Cause it's like, oh, whoa, this is a completely different ball game. Yeah. But that's super good to do. And
let's flip over to you. So why are you so brave to just throw them in?
That's how I learned. And to me, that's really the only way to learn. Yeah. Like you can spend all the time you want reading books on how to do things, but you got to do them. Yeah. So I knew by knowing him that he has the foundation, he has the information. Now he just needs to do it. Yeah. And so when God would open a door for me to go and fill in at another church or go to a conference or something to travel, it's like, okay, now this creates opportunity for him to fill the pulpit for me when I'm gone. And it's just great for both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I agree. That's how I learned. Thrown into the fire, you know. I want to tell you this interesting story is that my dad, he would always tell me, share your testimony at the church. And I was like, this is before, you know, I was like, this is before anything but the Who Source or anything. I'm like, I'm not sharing my testimony like at a church in front of like 2,000 people. Like, this is insane. So we did a big concert. Because when I first got saved, because of my background in producing events, I go, Dad, let's start doing some concerts here. So I started working with some Christian bands and bringing people in and promoting it. And we were like feeling like we had to take all the chairs out at some of the concerts. We have like 5,000 people. Like these concerts were like happening, right? Because I knew how to do that, but I wasn't like sharing my faith. I'd never planned on to be in the stage. It was always back end stuff. And then one day, I don't know why, but he's like, come, Ryan, just go up at this concert. He's like, just go up and share go share your story for like 3 to 5 minutes, just very fast. So I was like, all right, I can do that, like 3 to 5 minutes really quick. So I go up and I don't know how long it was. It wasn't like long, but it was like 5 minutes or something. And I shared it and I go, all right, if you guys, my dad's going to come up right now. And if you want to receive Jesus Christ, he's going to, do an altar call. Cause like I knew that common sense, like he's going to come up, he's going to do an altar call.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting on stage. There's thousands of people. It's dark. The lights are on me. And I'm like, yeah, my dad's going to come out. Yeah, I don't know where he's at. He's going to come out. Dude, he got in the car. He went out the backstage, got in his car and went home. He left me on the stage.
Wow.
So I said, and I'm like, I don't know where my dad's at. And then everyone's just kind of sitting there looking at me awkwardly. And I'm like, well, if you want to receive Jesus Christ, come forward and I'm going to pray for you. I knew the prayer, Jesus, forgive me of my sins.
Yeah.
And dude, all these people came up and that was the first altar call I ever did. I learned by doing it. My dad just left me on stage.
Yeah.
So it sounds like that's what he's doing with you. Just throwing you in.
Yeah.
But my point is, then I saw people come forward and then the next day they called me into the office and they said, hey, you have the gift of evangelism. And I was like, they go, you just shared your story and you told people to come forward and receive Jesus. And they did.
Yeah.
That's the gift of evangelism. You can't produce that. That just happens. And they told me this, they said, anytime you get an opportunity to share your story and do more of this, just do it. And dude, literally from that point on, every opportunity that was given to me, I did. And then that turned me into an evangelist.
Yeah. Yeah.
So pretty crazy.
For sure.
When you think about how simple, but scary and really just being thrown out there to just do it. And then what I learned is like, I just did it and then it just happened. And that's how you learn. But then I had to develop my telling story style, you know, and then that was a whole nother thing that I learned in like rehabs with like 3 people, 5 people. I wasn't in churches. It was just like wherever I could, but it wasn't in like on stages. It was that one stage event, but then all the learning and all the stuff was like back behind the scenes stuff, not on main stage church stuff.
Yeah.
Until like later to encourage you.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So, okay. So you're just getting after it. You're teaching, you're doing your thing. What are some things you want to talk to the listening audience that are young guys or girls that want to get involved in ministry? What are some other things that you want to encourage them with just from your experience right now? So one thing is it could be discouraging, but don't give up.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not? Don't give up.
Because you got to know this is what God wants you to do, you know? That's got to be the main reason. It can't be because you think you're amazing at it, because you're not. And it can't be because you love it, because you're not going to love it all the time. It has to be because you feel like this is what God wants you to do. And if you got that like foundation, like this is where God wants me to be right now. I'm not going to quit. This is what God wants me to do. And then you can get good at it, and then you can learn to love it. But the foundation is this is God's calling in my life. And
It's
something that I struggle with even now, and you were talking about this at lunch yesterday, and I'm sure you've went through it. As like a younger guy, there's just this temptation to want to be like successful and money, and it's like, what else could I do in ministry to try to create money? And I was reading through the life of David a couple years back, and like David wanted to build a house for God. And God goes, David, I didn't call you to build me a house. I called you to be a shepherd to my people. And it's like, God didn't call me to run a business. He didn't call me to make a bunch of money. He called me to shepherd his people. And I truly trust that if I just do that, that he will take care of the rest. And there's just so many distractions once you're in ministry to try to get you off focus of what God wants you to do. And if you could just stay locked into, okay, God, I'm just going to do what you've called me to do. Like, to me, that's where the blessing is. And when I look at people that I look up to in our movement, like your dad or these guys, it's like, that's what I see. They knew what God called them to. They held on to that no matter what, and God blessed it. Yeah.
And I've talked about this in a previous podcast, and I said that, like, when you're following God and you know God's call in your life, that, you know, because you're unique, right? There's only one of you, right? And you're created and designed for a specific plan here on planet Earth. So if you're walking in your lane that God has called you to do, there's no competition. There's no competition. Yeah. Like, you don't have to be like this guy. You don't have to. I always tell people, even for the whosoevers, because we have like 12 different ambassadors that are evangelists. I said, we don't need another Ryan Ries. I said, I've called you and brought you into the movement because of your unique style, the way you are, the way you deliver the message, the way you know, we talk about, you know, the way things can be better as far as like presentation, like, you know, what's good in the story and what's not, or, you know, implement this. But like, as far as your style, like, be you. I don't want you to dress like me. I don't want you to look like me. I don't want you to talk like me. I want you to be you. Just be you. And that's what's so rad, is like, you're an individual. Yeah. And you have your own style of teaching style or evangelism or whatever. And, you know, it's cool because you're talking about like, oh, I like the way he teaches. Yeah. Like, I like verse by verse. So like, I was teaching at Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa, at my dad's church. I was doing verse by verse through Mark and through John, right? And James. I did that for 3 years. But now where God has me is I'm doing evangelistic stuff. So it's a different style. And then revival night, that's just a teaching on the Holy Spirit. So it's like a topical evangelistic as well. Everything's evangelistic to me too, but it's a different style. But yet, when I teach through the Bible, like at Sunday, like church services, or if I were to host a night, I would love just to go verse by verse, simple through the Bible. That's my favorite style, just to hear the teaching of the Word of God, right? Yeah. But I have my own style in evangelistic and that style. So when you're in that mode, or if you develop your own ministry, you know, if you have like in and outside, like the Who Service, it's its own ministry, it's its own lane. There's no competition. No one will be like it because we do it like that, right? And that's encouraging, because then you don't have to be anything but what God's called you to be. And that's what's beautiful. And that's where the freedom is. Sure. There's no stress. You know, I need to be more like this guy. And you're like, no, you don't.
Yeah, and you don't have to be like a people pleaser either. It's
but
like,
that's the other thing. It gets rid of the whole people pleasing.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not doing this for you. I'm not doing this so you like me. I'm doing this for God, and like He wants me to do it.
Yes, and God has called us, and He uses our personality. Like, we're not supposed to change our personality. You know, you see a lot of pastors and different leaders and stuff. Over the past years, I've seen these younger guys coming up, like, you know, when they're younger, and they all of a sudden you start seeing them, they start changing their style, and they start changing the way they dress, and all of a sudden, next you know, like their outfits look like costumes on them, because they're evolving, and then they look just like the other hipster pastor, and you're like, there's like 3 guys in a pea coat, wearing a pea coat, and the same boots and the same pants and the same glasses, and you're like, that just looks whack. That's so corny and cheesy. And it's not them. Yeah. And then they all get the forearm tattoos.
That's right.
They don't start with the they don't start. No, but that's my point.
I don't think we're allowed to show that. Yeah.
But this is the thing. People that get tattoos, real guys, they start here, and then they come down. Amen. You don't start here. That's the difference. That's the difference between anyone that guys that get real tattoos and stuff. They start here and work down. Yeah. You don't start here just in the visual spots.
Sure.
All right.
Yes.
Never thought of it like that.
That's good.
Yeah. So anyway, all that to say, when you are called uniquely, you have your own style of teaching, preaching, and you're not trying to conform to be anything. I'm not hating on any styles. Yeah. Everyone has their own style. I'm not hating on styles. But hey, we got to come back. But just be unique to what God has called you to be. We'll be back in 2 minutes, right after the break with Hagen and Jordan. Peace.
More of The Ryan Ries Show coming up. Post your questions at Ryan Ries on his Instagram, Twitter, and or Facebook. Now, back to The Ryan Ries Show.
All right, we are back. I got Hagen in studio and Jordan Shafer and Hagen Miller. He was on this show a while ago talking about exiting Mormonism at a young age, got saved, and now one of the youngest, I would say youngest, if not the youngest, or one of definitely the youngest Calvary Chapel pastors.
I think the youngest and the most handsome. Is that what you were saying?
The
during
most
the break?
the most ridiculously good looking.
Wow. Good.
Up here in Salmon, Idaho. So we are back. So we were just talking about you going to Jordan going to Bible college, trying to see what God wanted to do from Philadelphia, and then Hagen came over. He was teaching there at the Bible college and Bible school, and basically brought you in as an intern. You came by faith. You're a East Coaster, Philly, loud like myself, so it's no disrespect. And you're in a culture now that's more not conservative, but more like not as loud, we'll say, right? Mm-hmm. More to themselves. And things didn't go too well when you first got here. You're like, what is going on? Well, things as far as like, it was kind of a culture shock, right? But you've been pressing on, not giving up. I like what you said. It's like, it's not about giving up. Like, you know that God has called you to this. And God's doing all these lessons. He's teaching you. He's developing you. And you've been here about 2 years now. You got married.
Yep.
How's your wife vibing?
Well, she's kind of partially the reason I'm here is that was a big part of our confirmation because we were both in Bible college. And then when Hagen came down, you get a lot of guest teachers, but like this one kind of stuck out to me. And so they call it the couples couch or the couples corner in CBI, this couch that you sit on when two people sitting on it. It's like, oh, they probably like each other. So we were just sitting there chit-chatting, and she brought up how much she really, really was super interested in wanting to go. And she's never said that about anyone before. It's like, oh, this would be kind of cool. And it's like, I was thinking the exact same thing. And so it's like, whoa, she's thinking this, I'm thinking this.
Yeah.
This is the girl I want to marry. This would kind of be cool. And so that was kind of a big confirmation. So I went up here first. And then about a year and a half ago, we got married. And then she came up here too. And having her here has been a really, really big help. She's awesome. And she's definitely able to kind of help me just kind of think. And she's so good. She's much more quieter than I am. She's much more reserved. Yeah. And she was able to adapt maybe a little bit better.
Right.
And
right.
she's really good at a lot of the young girls here and helping them out. It's super cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, tell me, since we have this last half, let's talk about some of the things that you've learned along the way in the journey, being here. Some things that you feel like God has taught you since you've been here, and maybe some things that what God's speaking to you about now. Mm-hmm. Just so people can just understand the journey of going into ministry, because like I like what you said before at the last half, how you were saying, or maybe you said it, like young people want to come in and think it's going to be this magnificent thing and this big platform, all this stuff, but there's ministries, a lot of like lessons to develop you, and then there's like these amazing moments, and then there's these there's other seasons where you're going through these trials because God's training you, because as you go through trials and tribulations and these seasons, these are the things that you go through that you're able to speak life into other people. That's what I've learned. You go through these like times, and then that God gives you more ammo. So when people come up to you and they're going through this, and you're like, yeah, I went through this at this certain time.
Yeah, you gotta, something I've learned that's big is you gotta pray for the people you're ministering to. You gotta pray that God would give you a supernatural love for them, because it's very easy to kind of get angry at them, or like there's certain people or certain kids that's just like, they're not listening, they're not, they don't like it, I don't like them, we're not, and it's just like you can almost start to hate them in some ways. It's like, whoa, I'm not supposed to hate these people that I'm here to love and serve,
because it's frustration.
For sure, yeah, exactly.
Frustration turns into mad and hate and angry. Totally.
So you just gotta pray for those people and pray that God would help you to love them, and then to meet them where they're at, and pray that God would give you the way to minister to them And just be flexible. Just like this, it might not look like what you thought it would look like, but just kind of be flexible and be able to meet them where they're at with whatever, with the teaching, with whatever you do, group games, whatever. Just kind of be flexible and be like, okay, how can I best reach the people that God's given me? Because like right now we got a group, and it might not be the group I imagined, but it's the group that we got. And so it's like, how can I reach this group? And they might be different, they might be weird, but it's like, how can I best love and serve this group?
Yeah. So I always say that the Jesus ministry is messy. It's a very messy ministry. And what I mean by that is like you could have, and I went through this, I've experienced this, where you pray with someone, you talk to them, they encounter God right there in front of your eyes, and then all of a sudden you see them coming to church or getting discipled, and all of a sudden they just disappear. Mm-hmm. And then you hear, they're doing drugs again, or they're doing this, or they're not walking with God, and then they come back. And then you got to receive them, you pray with them again, they encounter God again, and they're coming again, and then they disappear again. And they come back, and you're like, dude, how many times are we going to go through this same thing? When are you just going to get it? Yeah. But it's a messy ministry, and that's God's grace. Is you gotta, and that just goes to like, however, if you're praying with them, you're talking to them, or maybe they're just not there yet, and you just keep. It's messy. You just got, it's God's grace and love. You just gotta have that unconditional love for them, and then sooner or later, you're just praying like, hopefully sooner or later, they're just gonna get it, And working with kids is like high school kids too, so distracted,
When you have those little moments of victory, it's like so worth it.
Oh, for sure.
When you see a kid pray for their friend, or they have this desire to share the gospel with someone, and they're asking you a question how to do it, or what, it's just like,
they get it. Yeah, you get it. Yeah,
it's the best.
And that's what ministry is, right? It's like these. I mean, when you read the Gospels too, it's like you have the highlights, you have the stuff that they've gone through, the prophets and Peter and Jesus. I mean, it's just. It's a journey. It's exciting though, just being in God's will and God calling you and leading you for these moments. Even if He called you to pray for someone, in a restaurant or whatever, it's like these moments of just being in God's will is just, it's all worth it. These little highlights. So, what are some other things you think, Hagen, that you would like to speak into, as far as what you're seeing, or things that you've had him be a part of, where you've seen him. Where you've seen from the outside where he's thrived, and other things where he's being tested.
Sure.
How can I do better, Hagen?
Let's do like an
let's do a little counseling right now.
Yeah. One of the things that I did early on is, so he's teaching youth group on Thursday nights. And then I was going every single week because I want to be hearing what he's teaching.
Yeah.
I want to hear how he's teaching through the book of Genesis.
Yep.
Because again, I don't know him that well, so I need to trust him. So I literally attended every youth group for almost until just very recently. And now I'll attend for like worship, and then I'll kind of dip out and let it be his thing.
Yeah.
Because now I trust him.
Yeah.
But it's like, how's he going to deal with this passage? What's he going to bring up here?
Yeah.
And I'm just really wanting to make sure.
Yeah.
Because the last thing I need is, the youth pastor's teaching this weird thing over here all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So just having that oversight, and then when I finally get the confidence that, okay, he's getting it like I'm getting it, then I can really start letting go.
The youth pastor's talking about the Nephilim again. Oh no.
Yeah. So, and this is important too, because there's this whole thing that is going on with, there was a whole thing going on with worship a while ago, when that whole Hillsong thing came to Calvary Chapel, or it was surfacing, and a lot of people were kind of going towards Bethel or towards Hillsong or whatever the direction, of some songs that weren't theologically, there's some songs that aren't theologically correct of what we believe. And if the worship leaders are not understanding that theologically it's not sound, and they're singing it, so now you have a whole different kind of doctrine surfacing in worship. And then this could also happen with pastors. I was speaking at a church on the East Coast, surprisingly, out there in that area near you, and I was speaking at this one event, and I got done speaking. I was teaching on John the Baptist, and I was teaching about like if you're not producing fruit, be chopped down and thrown in the fire, and if it's like if your life is just rotten fruit, that you're not basically saved, right? And this guy comes up to me and he starts, hey, you said this, and he was out of Calvary Chapel, and he wasn't a pastor, but he was like a guy that was serving there, like a leader. And he's like, you said this. And he was basically leading to the point of like once saved, always saved. And he's like, well, and he's like, you can't lose your salvation. And then I was kind of like, not an argument, but we were going back and forth. Then I just stopped and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, do you believe like you're once saved, always saved? Like what's that called again? A Calvinism.
Right. I
go, you believe? And he goes, yeah, I'm he believes it. And I go, wait a minute. I go, we're at Calvary Chapel. I go, that's not what we preach here. I'm not a Calvinist. And I go, neither is Calvary Chapel, by the way. And you're like at a Calvary Chapel, so we don't preach this stuff.
Yeah.
And I just kind of looked at him, and then I had to call the pastor and be like, hey, dude, you got a Calvinist guy over there pushing Calvinism.
Watch out.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, watch out.
Sure.
But yeah, that's why it's important to pay attention of what is being sang and what is being preached or taught, teached. Is that a word? Teached.
Think that's it, yeah.
So, what are some other things as a pastor, as you're raising up younger guys, and it doesn't have to be just him, but just anyone? What are some other things that you're looking for that you need to keep a pulse on, so all of a sudden your church doesn't start going in a different direction with youth? What are some other things to be cautious?
Yeah, I think just, and I'm really not good. Like my leadership style is not like a general, so I'm not like good at like leading this charge and everyone can clearly like figure out what's going on. Like I expect people to just like observe and like figure it out. And because that's how I learn. So it's like, I trust if you actually watch what I'm doing, you'll be able to know what I'm doing. Yeah. But if you want me to sit down every week in a 2-hour meeting and remind you what our mission and vision is, I'm not that guy.
Neither am I.
It's a waste of time, and I just can't do it.
You got the wrong guy. You got the wrong guy.
So just watching just those different styles and what people like. But then like with younger people, my pitch is that I know of so many churches that are open and that even need help. And they're just looking for these younger guys to show interest. And if you go to your pastor and you're like, you start asking questions, you ask where you can serve, like doors will open. And I kind of feel like there's a disconnection in the younger generation and understanding like a call in ministry and like a career in it. Like, I feel like there's this idea of like, well, you can't get rich serving Jesus. And I think Jesus has a call in my life, but you can't get rich serving Jesus. So I just have to go to college and figure something else out. If you really think you're called to serve Jesus, I don't think you need a plan B. And I think that churches need to be more transparent and open and just let these people know that like if you're really into it, like if I had another young guy right here today that was called and was a good fit, like we're not a rich church, but I'd hire him today. I'd make it work. Yeah. And it's like, you can do this. Yeah. And you can make this work and you can live a life and you can still have a house and a car and be okay. Yeah. And do what God is calling you to do. Instead with these young people, I just see this pressure of, it looks like God has a call in your life, but you're all stressed about everything. So you're going to go to now a secular college and try to get a career and try to figure out how you can honor God and do this. And some people have that call, but I'm speaking to those who are called to full-time ministry. Like it's still real. You can still do it and you need to be doing it. And you need to be stepping out in faith and getting involved in it. Yeah. I
like what you said, how if you're called, go to your pastor. And I would also just add like, go and say, hey, if you really feel called, just be like, I'll do anything.
Yeah.
And do anything and do it well. Because that pastor is going to watch you and be like, you know, if you can be trusted in whatever he has you do, if it's like you're gonna sweep the parking lot, or you're gonna clean the bathrooms, or you're gonna make photocopies, whatever it be, just do it with excellence. Yeah. And then what they're gonna see is if you could kill it in what you're doing with just that job, then he's gonna be like, this guy does an amazing job making photocopies and cleaning the restrooms. I'm going to put him over here. He can be trusted and he does it well. Yeah. If he takes that super serious, then I'm going to have him do this. And then you're entrusted. You know, if you're faithful with the small things, he'll make you greater in the bigger things. Yep. And I mean, that's what I look for in a leader. And I'm like you. I don't have meetings with everyone every 2 weeks. I'm just like, come and see, like Jesus. He's like, hey, you want to follow? Come and see. I take people on tours. You want to learn how to do evangelisms? Jump on the road and come sleep. We got extra rooms. Just sleep in the room. In the room. Come out, watch what I'm doing, and then I'll just be like, "Hey, dude, If I know they have a call, I'll be like, you're up, get in. Go. You've seen me go do like 20 events. Go do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'll fire them in. Or if it's like people serving like Daniel or whatever, you bring them out, teach them how to do it, and then they have to develop and then instruct them along the way. But that's how you do it. Just getting after it and learning.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
They have to have the fire and the passion though.
Sure. Yeah. You can't teach that, nor can you impart that. They have to have that. Yeah.
You have to be fired up and want more and be faithful for what's in front of you, because more will come. And all these guys in the Moose Owners, I've built them all up, like opened more doors and trusted them more, and they're growing and growing. And now we're training guys that are doing what they used to do. And it's a growth and that's how it happens. But this generation, going back to looking at this generation, the common thing is what you hear with like millennials or Gen Z or whatever it is that they're hiring in the workplace, in the secular workplace, they're saying they don't want to work. They're like, oh, it's too much, or they don't have the drive or the passion.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying for all of them, because there's always lazy people in the world.
Sure.
But this has been a common thread or they expect, that's the other thing, they expect to be like, well, I should be doing this without actually doing the work, the groundwork to get to where they're at. So that's another common thread that I've heard of people hiring people in the secular world, is like they come in expecting to be the guy or the girl without doing the work to get there. And you can't be the guy or the girl in the job if you don't know how the whole system works. How are you going to lead people if you don't even know how the whole back end works?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
How are you going to be the director of operation of shipping, thousands of dollars worth of product if you haven't even worked in the warehouse? You don't even know how it operates.
Yeah.
You right? How are you going to teach the people if you don't even know how to put a Bible study together? And it's like you have to do the footwork to learn.
Yep.
From the ground up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else you want to chime in on this?
Yeah, I would just say that
because we're coming for you. We're telling you what's up right now. It's all about you.
I would just say I realized just how lucky I am. I talked to my other friends.
I'm gonna have you aim that mic more towards you.
I feel how lucky I am. I talked to a lot of my friends who went to Bible college with me or graduated Bible college after me or something like that, and they're just like, they're doing their thing, they're doing good, but they were like, because they come up here and visit, and they're like, dang, Jordan, like, you just got to come up here, and Hagen just kind of hired you, and Hagen just kind of pays you to do youth ministry.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what I have, it's like super fortunate. And like what Hagen talked about, how it's like, just invest in this guy and just like hire this guy.
Yeah.
Because if Hagen didn't pay me when I came up here, like I couldn't stay up here.
Yeah.
I'd have to go because I wanted to get married. I wanted to do these things, so I had to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I realized just how the big deal and how rare it is for a senior pastor to. It's like an investment. Yeah. Because I'm just this kid who doesn't know anything. It's an investment. So he invests in me so that one day I can know what I'm doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so then in April, when I want to go to Hawaii, I can have him fill in for me.
Exactly.
I've invested in him, so now I can leave and I can trust he's going to take care of things. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, are you gonna be going over there teaching?
I'm going to Oahu. My cousin lives there, so I'm just going to see him.
Just hang out.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you in Kauai teaching or anything?
No.
Okay.
No.
Not yet. Okay, I'll put the word in to get you out there.
That'd
okay?
be great. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Yeah, he wants to go and teach and work while he's over there.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's no, exactly. No, it is an investment. It is an investment. Even all the guys at the Who Survivors, like we're investing. If you're paying someone, you're investing. You're teaching. You're not paying them to just go, train and send them off. So it is an investment for greater things, And then one day you're gonna get the call and he's gonna be like, "Hey, dude, who's the new youth pastor?" You know what I mean? Like one day that day will come.
Yeah.
But how are you going to know what to look for unless you've been trained and know how to operate? So that's the thing. It's so important to be trained. That's why Jesus called the disciples and said, "Follow me." Yeah. He just took them on the road, sleeping, eating. They were just out there just getting after it for years and just learning hands-on, watching Jesus, and then just jumping in the action.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's in John's gospel with the feeding of the 5,000. And I think it's Philip. Like all the people here, Philip goes, "Jesus, how are we going to feed these people?" And Jesus looks at Philip and he essentially says, "I don't know, Philip, what are you going to do about this?" And it's like, that's discipleship.
What are you going to do? Yeah.
They brought this thing to Jesus, but then Jesus looks at him, he goes, "How are we going to fix this?" And Jesus knows what he's going to do, but Jesus is trying to get Philip to figure out what's going to happen. And then they do the whole thing. But it's like, so here's a problem, Hagen. What are we going to do? It's like, I don't know. What are we going to do about this?
What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's what's up. That's what's up. Okay, so as we come to the last 6 minutes of the show, let's encourage the listening audience. What would you guys want to say? Both of you guys could tag team on this. What would you want to say to encourage people that they're young or maybe even older, right? I didn't get into ministry until I was like 30 years old.
Yeah.
30. How old was I? 33. 33. That's when I am. I got into. You guys aren't even 33 yet.
That's right.
Right. I got into it late.
Huh.
So it's never too late. First thing is, what are some encouraging words you want to say each to people that are maybe whatever age they are and they're feeling called? Okay. Here's a question. How would someone know right now if God is calling them? What are the first steps?
Like calling them to anything.
He might be calling them right now to get involved in ministry. Like they're just thinking these ideas. How do they know that God could be calling them? What are some signs of that?
Yeah, like an interest.
Interest,
like if you're just interested in church. I wonder what happens at church outside of Sunday. What happens during the week. I wonder what pastors do. I wonder all these things of just having a fascination or an interest.
That's a good start. That's fascination for it. Like what happens? That could be a call. God's calling you to think about.
Yeah.
Why are you thinking about these things?
Right.
Because God's calling you.
Yep. So that was it for me. The first thing that revealed to me, it was I was just curious about church outside of Sunday.
Right.
And I'd, stop in and see the pastor and ask him questions and ask him about what he did and what his day was like. And it was just like a stirring of just a curiosity. Yeah.
Right. So that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. I would probably say other people speaking into your life. That's a really big one. Other people saying, I see this calling on you.
Yeah.
There's this verse in Genesis with when Isaac needs to find a wife. So Abraham sends out the servant, but the servant goes out there and the servant finds the spot. And he basically says, as I was on the way, the Lord led me. That's one of my favorite verses.
Yes.
Being on the way, the Lord led me. And it's just God didn't show up to me when I was 17 in my bedroom and say, you're going to be a youth pastor in Salmon, Idaho. No, God just said, okay, go to California. I was like, okay, God, I'll go to California. Okay, pay attention and study the Bible. Okay, I'm going to try my best. Okay, check out this place in Salmon. Okay, I'll do it. And just step by step by step by step. It's like, oh, here I am. God clearly wants me here because how does a boy growing up in Philadelphia end up in Salmon, Idaho?
That's what I thought when I got here. I said, what are you doing here?
This has to be from God. So it's just step by step by step. And it's just oh, yeah, this is my calling.
Yeah.
And I didn't need to know. I didn't need to have it all laid out. But being on the way, God was just okay, you're here.
He doesn't give you, what I've learned too, is he doesn't give it all to you in front of you. It's along the way. And one of my favorite verses, it was not my favorite verse, but a verse that I like a lot, and I'm probably not going to even quote it right, but what does it say? Commit all your ways to the Lord and he will lead you. Commit all your ways. Lean not on your own understanding. Commit all your ways to the Lord and he will show you what paths to take. Yeah. Paths with an S. Paths. And it's your first path was California.
Yep.
And then their second path was here. Yep. And then what's the next? It's just these paths all lead to the path that he has for you. And he shows you along the way. If you would have never stepped out by faith, I guess the first path was going to Joe Foch and talking to him. Yeah. There's your first path. Yeah. And then the second path to California, and then the third path here. And he lean not on your own understanding, because your own understanding, you'd be like, if God would have said you're going to Salmon, Idaho, back when you talked to Joe Foch, you'd be like, wrong.
Where's Idaho?
Yeah, where's that? I'm not going to Salmon. What? Yeah. It doesn't even make sense. But along the way, God prepared you and changed your heart and prepared your heart and gave you this desire and this hunger and opened the door, sent him here. His path led you there. And that's a whole nother way of paths. Going down there to teach led you to this moment in time. Yeah. So be encouraged with that. Oh my gosh, this time goes too fast with you guys.
It's crazy.
It's way too fast.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you want to speak into this?
Yeah.
In 1 minute.
Let me just say that if you guys who are listening, especially if you're part of churches, you guys should connect with the Whosoevers. I've known you for several years. Mm-hmm. I've been listening to this program when you were still live with Ryan Ries.
Yeah.
Yeah. In 2014, when I was in college, I would listen to you guys.
Awesome.
So I've watched it develop. But your style of ministry is so unique, especially to our movement. And some people might not like it at first. They might think it's kind of rough or something. But having seen you for so many years and been a part of some things that you do, you guys are just consistent. You're legit. You're reaching people that honestly pastors can't reach and churches aren't going to reach. You're going out and you're doing it, and it's super awesome. So
thank you for the encouragement.
Big powwow or big attitude to the whosoever's, and you do your school outreaches. You got your revival nights. I was able to go down to that first one you did at your dad's church.
That's right. We all went.
It's just cool, and the church needs this stuff. So
thank you. Yeah, just consistency. That's what I want to encourage people with, is that you just got to stay consistent to the call that God's being in that lane. It all goes back to like, be in that lane that God called you to do and stay consistent there. And then people from the outside, like you just said, you've been watching, people watch, and they'll see you, that you're consistent and you've never veered. And you didn't get tattoos on your forearm and get your P code and your
funny glasses.
You were just you, and you stayed consistent.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the Calvary Chapel movement, is it's not all this like fancy stuff. It's just being sold out for Christ, being used who you are.
Yeah.
So I love you guys. Thank you for being on the show, and we will talk to you guys next week. Peace.
See ya.
This has been The Ryan Ries Show. To connect and find out more about Ryan, click on ryan-ries.com. Check us out next Saturday at 9 p.m. for The Ryan Ries Show.